All right. Today I am going to be talking about the new sporting HHF training gloves. I got these in 16 ounces. The HHF, that stands for horsehair foam, so we don't get confused. 16 ounces I got these in. Obviously the colorway is black, blue, and white. When I weighed these, they were actually pretty impressive. They came in at 16.26, which is basically, if you round up, you could say 16.3. But they both came in at the exact same weight. So because of that, I think that's super shocking when you're thinking about a glove that's made in Mexico, like New Sporting is. This is a New Sporting made in Mexico glove. So that alone, in my opinion, is pretty insane. The leather of the glove is a cowhide leather. As you can see, I like this leather a lot. Has a nice texture to it. I like the texture. If you can actually see the texture, it's a really beautiful texture to it. It's not a smooth glove. It has a nice, cool, kind of like a nice, very nice wrinkled texture. And I like the feeling of that. I think it really connects to the bag really well, and I think it sticks on the bag when you shoot your shots on there. So I really like that part of it. The lining of the glove is 100% polyester, and you can see it here. It's a nice polyester lining, very standard on gloves. You hear it? So yeah, good polyester liner, very moisture wicking. I like that liner. Nothing too fancy, just straight up 100% polyester. And as for the padding, it's made with a natural latex, a high density polyurethane foam, and horsehair. So in my opinion, just another horsehair glove that's also, it's like a poulat glove with horsehair, right? Latex, polyurethane, and latex. So as we can see, a lot of gloves are doing that nowadays. New Sporting no different, but there we go. In terms of the stitching, the stitching's fine on the glove. I will say the couple things that I'll probably get into maybe a little later. Actually, probably now. I'll do it now. There's differences in these gloves, so it's a little different, a little weird. So essentially, these gloves don't necessarily look exactly alike. I think in terms of the stitching, it's okay, but in terms of like the leather here, you'll see that one portion right here, that part of leather is a little bit different in terms of the texture and the feel of this leather than it is on this side. So that's different. Also, another thing when it comes to like just the uniformity of the glove, this piping here on this right glove compared to this left glove kind of has a bigger piping, and it's a little longer, and it accommodates your fingers a little more. And this one is a little shorter, and it kind of, you could feel it on rubbing on your arm, on your inner palm a little bit. So the piping's tighter here. The piping is more open here. Also, in terms of, if I put it on the other side, you can see that with some of the New Sporting gloves, the logos aren't exactly going to last. Now, I had another pair of horsehair foam gloves. They were 14 ounces, and they were peeling as well as soon as I got them. And this one is, as soon as I got these, this is what happened. As you can see, I'm able to just basically peel this back, and that's been like that since I got it. When you throw hooks and stuff like that, it just starts flapping open. The side here as well, you'll see that there's kind of like, that portion is coming off. Now, I don't think that's that big of a deal, because if I'd rather them not put this on and give me a flat glove that just performs well than having something that's going to peel that quickly. Now, I also have another pair of New Sporting gloves, and the other ones haven't peeled at all, but they're not the horsehair model. They're a completely different model. So because of that, so I just want to make sure, let people know that this is kind of how the glove came. This wasn't wear and tear. This was just ultimately how the glove came. They came bubbled up and starting to peel right away. So not the biggest deal for me because, like I said, I'm more about the performance of the glove than, you know, basically the brand here. So that's cool. We have also, you know, this nice little patch here. Like, I'm okay with this patch just alone. They have the nice 16 ounce here, as you can see. It's probably upside down or something, but there's a nice 16 ounce patch right here, and then there's this nice, you know, felt like patch here. Doesn't feel like it's going to cut anybody. It does a good job, you know, showing what the brand is, and I like that a lot. Now I will say, when I got my other 14 ounce horsehair gloves, I don't have them anymore. They're a little different than these, even though they're the same model. They feel different. You know, they didn't have this design, which is like this, you know, 3-part design here. And this is just like white, which is like 1/3, and then white and 1/3 blue. So it's a little unique in that way. Also, the other model that I had didn't have this this thumb. It had like a triple thumb design, like a Grant glove, but this one doesn't have that. So just so people know, I don't know if this is going to be built the same exact way as some of your other horsehair foam models of New Sporting, because the other New Sporting gloves I had were definitely a little different. So I just want to make sure I get into that before I start getting into the real review here. As you can see, we have kind of like a double cuff here. Kind of reminds you of kind of a design that's like, you know, a Japanese style, you know, sparring design. Instead of the triple cuff you'll see on a lot of Mexican made gloves, this one will have this kind of double cuff here. I actually like this better than the triple cuff, but that's just me. In terms of the padding on the back, there's a ton of it. So I would say, you know, over an inch on the back, but it's nice and soft. It's not like a thick EVA foam or something that's gonna, you know, it's just very, very soft. It's not hard at all. And the same thing with the front. There's a massive amount of padding in the wrist portion of the glove, as you can see here, and there's tons of it. So yeah, so I would say it's probably an inch on the inside and a little bit more than an inch on the back in terms of the padding. So the wrist protection of the glove is pretty solid. Now, in terms of these laces, I think that they are, you know, they're okay. I like them because they're very stretchy, and I like stretchy laces, honestly. But these ones are kind of, you know, medium in length. Maybe, you know, I wish they were a tad longer, but they are a good length. It's not a huge deal. In terms of the grip bar here, I'm going to say it's a thinner grip bar. But it's nice, and it has a nice like medium density to it. So it's long, and it's a little bit on the thin side, but it could be felt, so it does a good job too, you know. In terms of the air holes on this finger compartment, there are none on the finger compartment or under there, so that's interesting. I wish there were, but a lot of gloves don't have them. They do have the air holes on the thumb portion, and I really don't know how much because I can't count them really, but I would imagine there's like maybe 5 or 6 of them in there on the inside. So ultimately, like I said, the liner itself is it's kind of a moisture wicking liner. It's not a hot liner at all. You know, when you're talking about the polyester liners, they're not very hot. They're not like a tricot liner or anything like that. So no problem there. When I talk about the sizing of the glove, I do want to say this is, in my opinion, it looks kind of larger. That's another difference I have too about this glove, is that this thumb is actually pushed out a little bit more than this one. This one's more cuffed inwards, and this one's more pushed out. And that might be the reason why this is a little tighter on the palm than this one, because this one's a little longer, but it seems like a little more slim. This one has like a definitely pronounced outward thumb. I don't know if you can see it on the video, but it's a little bit more pushed out than this one. So when you deal with boutique brands, you're really not going to get the perfect gloves, and they warn you about that, you know. So I'm not going to obsess over it, but I'm just trying to give an honest review here. That's basically what it is. when it comes to the comfort of the glove, I think that's where these gloves kind of shine the most. Once I put my hand in the glove, this is so nice to me, because this to me is like what a perfect sparring glove would be like. It automatically just, my hand's automatically open, right? These are incredibly broken in right off the bat. Now, the funny thing is the original horsehair foam gloves I got were different than this, because it wasn't completely broken in right off the bat. It was actually more of like a medium padding, and you kind of had to do a little bit more breaking in. This one, automatically right off the bat, my hands are open. You could parry shots, you know, you could, you know, hold someone's hands, you could do all types of clinches. You know, you definitely have a lot of movement on the hands that you could utilize your hands in sparring and things like that. So I really like this. Or on the bags, you know, some people like to, you know, use their hands on the bags and things like that. So in my opinion, so nice. Just like I said, it's coming off, so don't mind that. And when it comes to the fingertip compartment of the glove, there's a tad bit of a rolled up piece of felt that's on the fingertip compartment where the stitching is. It's a small rolled up piece, so you could call it a secondary grip bar, but it's very small. And obviously right in the fingertip compartment, there's a lot of like warm felt, so the fingertip compartment is warm. So that's unique in that way. The thumb, I think it's pretty comfortable. Like I said, this is probably my only problem, is that this one on the right hand is a little bit tighter in terms of the inside of my hand than this one is. So this one's actually really perfect. This one's a little different, and you can probably see it. My hand's kind of bulging out here, and it's kind of smaller here in this portion. But the thumb itself is very comfortable. There's a lot of padding on the outside, so there's no injuring your thumb there. When you push it down, I don't feel any pinching. When I actually hit anything, there's no pinching on the fingertip. My fingertips don't reach the top here anyway, so there's no issues with that. When it comes to the hand compartment itself, it's a good roomy hand compartment. It's nice and roomy. You definitely can use your hand wraps in this, no problems at all. So that's really cool too. I did want to do a sizing profile, but I'll do the pop test first. This is one of my favorite things about the glove itself, is that it has a really good thud. And I think it's because the punch surface is very flat, and it's horsehair obviously, and then you have, you know, latex and the polyurethane, but it has a really good feel on the bags. It's very broken in feel, it's very sinking in feel, and it has a nice thud to it. So so obviously it's like the wig's coming off a little bit here. So yeah, so I don't know if you heard that, but in here it was pretty loud. This is probably the loudest popping glove I have. When it comes to size profile, I'll say that it's, you know, if I'm, you know, going to compare it to a pair of Reyes or something, you could see, you know, I don't know how to categorize it. I would say it looks somewhat large, but, you know, I don't know. It depends on, to each his own, right? Because I actually really like the size of these gloves. Some people might think that they look a little poofy, but at least these pairs. But I don't know. I'll compare them to a Bayonetta. Now these Bayonettas are longer, definitely long gloves. These are probably a little more wide, but these Bayonettas are big as well, but they don't really feel that way when you put your hands in them. So yeah, so it is what it is. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, make up your mind there. I think that it's on the somewhat larger side, but it's, I would say, medium to large. I don't think they're massive or anything. So that's cool right there. In terms of the performance of the glove. Now, this is one thing I wanted to get on, because these gloves, the performance is crazy. I love them. They're one of my favorite things. That's the thing that saved the glove the most, is the fact that, you know, when I actually use them, I actually really enjoy them, because it's so good. It feels so good on the bags. It feels so good on the mitts. And as for sparring, I mean, you probably definitely get away with this because it's, you know, has a nice poofiness to it. But you can see here, in terms of the padding, I would categorize this as, you know, a soft, right? Now, again, I got the original pair I had was a 14-ounce pair, and they looked a little different. And the padding was different as well. So I don't know how your padding is going to be with your pair, but my pair is, like, I'm already pinching all the way through. I can feel the grip bar just doing this. It's very, very soft. So I'll consider the padding soft on these gloves. I do prefer that for mitt work and pads and stuff, and, you know, heavy bag work and all that kind of fun stuff. So I think it's a really fun glove, in my opinion, with the way it performs. Now, the old pair that I had, I think was a better, you know, it could be used for sparring because the padding was a lot better for sparring. It was more medium. So, you know, like I said, this is a very unique review because I feel like this glove's a little different than the other gloves. And I don't know why, but it is. Now, that being said, as for the price of the glove, they're kind of everywhere. You know, there's a lot of sales going on. The Boxer Boutique has a couple sales. I think he has one pair left, and they're like $199 for a 14-ounce. And, you know, you might see one on Fighter Boutique for $235 or something. Or you might, you know, go to New Sporting and get the full retail price, which is going to be higher. The full retail on New Sporting, I think, is about $290 for the horsehair model gloves. So it is what it is. For $290, you know what I mean? But the $199 is a really good price. You know, if you go on some sites, they might, you know, have some really good deals. Even New Sporting has some really good deals. You know, they also have other models too. You know, there's models that, you know, I mentioned the stitching before. These ones don't have welted seams, but they have, you know, other models like the Retro model or the Centaurus model, and those models have, you know, the welted seams. They're more expensive for sure, but ultimately, you know, New Sporting, I think, is a great company. I just think that this one, in terms of the quality control on this one, it wasn't all that great, but I'm telling you, the performance just made me feel okay about it. You know, at first I was kind of bummed out. I said, oh, this is coming off, and, you know, this leather here looks different than this one, and, you know what's kind of going on. You know, one thumb feels a little different than the other thumb. And then I started to use the gloves and started being like, okay, you know what? These are probably one of my best feeling gloves out there. Like, they feel so good that I'm okay with the imperfections more so now. So my final thoughts are essentially, it's a boutique glove. So you're probably going to get this part. The bubbling is going to probably happen to a lot of people. But if you really want a really good glove that performs well, it's going to perform well. And obviously New Sporting has really great gloves. I just think that maybe this in particular, you know, pair of gloves just kind of wasn't up to snuff, but that's not everyone's pair of gloves for sure. I'm sure a lot of people love their gloves because I love them. I've tried a lot of their gloves before, so I don't want to knock them too much. But yeah, I have to be honest about the review. Still one of my favorite gloves because of the performance. In terms of the aesthetics of it, you know, it could have been better. But like I said, it's really on weight. They're both the same size, which is really, really hilarious that they're both exactly the same weight, but being a little different. So that being said, you know, that's my review. I like these gloves a lot. You know, I would recommend them because I feel like they make a couple different versions of them, honestly, because this is definitely different than the other one I had. But if you do have this one, then this is your review.